Today we're doing 61.7 kilometers, 368 meters of climb, 6 laps of flat route. Here we go. It's a long race, not much doing in the first few minutes, so I went ahead and made the 600 speed instead of 400 for the remainder of the race. In these early positions, I'm trying to suss out who might be willing to work in a break, who wants to push the pace, who might be a bot so that I could use them. And right here we see P. Francis is going off the front and likes to increase pace. I'll keep note of that. Taking down other names here, S. Marius seems willing to work, Saint Amant seems willing to work. I'm taking down names here so that I can know if a break establishes or looks like it's going to establish, I can come over the top to work with folks that have shown that they want the pace to increase. So definitely taking note early, and here we go up our first little incline. It's about 1%, but you'll see a theme here to push on this segment. Here we're coming up to the largest climb of the race. It's about 5.6%, and I'm expecting people to hammer it every time. We have Abraham, who seems to have pushed it really hard but then backed off. So taking note, but that is the largest point of separation on this entire course. So it's good to take note. It's also good to take note of where you can rest, and this is going to depend entirely on what type of rider you are, how big you are. I'm 85-ish kilograms, a little bit more, and so I can rest on anything -2, -3%, -4% is just pretty much I should be resting. I would call this a pace increase and not an attack, and I'm going to show willingness to work here by extending the pace increase because I see that there's a bit of a gap forming, 1-2 seconds. I want to signal that I'm willing to work and willing to take pulls, willing to be in the wind, and willing to make it hard. See the same cast of characters wanting to push the pace. I'm not going to push over them, but I want to stay in the draft. Draft is based on speed, so incline does matter because it decreases speed, but at race paces you'll be surprised where you still get a decent amount of draft. So I'm going to continue the pull a little bit over there. I just faded back a little bit. No point in being in the wind too much. This looks to me like a pace increase that turned into a bit of a break. I think anybody who's watched me with commentary knows that I just don't see anything under 8 watts per kilo as an attempt other than to increase the pace. And here Sammy wants to increase the pace. It's a good pace and uphill. And so I try to chase the chasers. I'm gonna let danglers dangle, but I want to chase anybody who's chasing. Marius comes over the top, very smart, and looks to open a real break here, and we get our first major attack. There's so much race left that I'm going to see how this plays out. I'm seeing if others are going to react, and they don't. Except for we get Abraham comes over the top there, and I sort of put in an effort to bring the peloton back together. I'm not trying to overtake. I wouldn't mind getting into a break and working together, but we're going to have to rotate. And if I don't see that rotation, then I'm going to shut it down. And right there, Abraham seems to be expecting me to close the gap to Marius, and we're not quite there, and the peloton is catching up, but we've put a dent in Marius's lead, which is fine. So now I'm going to see if the peloton will bring him back. And they kind of need to, and it looks like they will. So I'm not going to expend energy, but I'm going to stay near the front just in case I have to be the one who stitches it back together. And I'm going to take a strategic moment to rest here, because as I said last lap, that's a great place for me to rest. And we shut down Marius. Apes together strong, peloton is back together. I feel some people are hurting, and we'll start seeing dropouts pretty soon. Most folks on Zwift have the ability to race at a high level for the first hour or so and really starts fading off, but that was a major attack, especially Abraham put in there. Sustaining 10 watts per kilo was pretty big, and Marius is just, you'll see, a very strong rider. And so people are recovering here. I've got the watt balances on screen if you can follow in the bottom left, and it's pretty interesting to see. But we're going to continue to recover here and use as little energy as possible and wait for the next move. Any elevation is going to get a push, so I try to preempt this and again stay in the draft. Look at my sauce balance. It's the green bottom right text. And you even go back and rewind, you'll see that I'm getting a good amount of draft even up that hill because it's speed based. So incline only matters with respect to draft, that it decreases speed generally, but if there's an attack there, you'll actually see my draft increased. So there's some climbs that it makes a lot of sense to be in a draft. And here we've established the break. I get the elbow through. I'm not as strong as Simone Towitz in terms of they're holding like 5.1. They gave me the elbow. I want to say I fulfilled the obligation to extend the break. We're going to try to make something stick here. One interesting thing here, when somebody pops a power up, even it was supposed to really kind of be my turn, but I just think it makes the most sense that you are saying that you're willing to pull when you're popping a power up. And so I abandoned my turn, A, because I'm hurting, and B, because Simone Towitz went ahead and popped feather, and then I get behind them. I think it's the best use of the power up for the break. Because now we have 4, Marius is joined. Marius is also showing willingness to work, which is fantastic. I'm taking a bit of a break here, not quite at the rivet, but this is, we're almost halfway done with the race. This is a lot of work, and we come up to the point of separation. This has to be a big climb. It just has to. So I'm gonna take the front if I can. We've got almost 10 seconds. Marius doesn't have steering, which when you're in a break with somebody that doesn't have steering, you can't cut corners, which is unfortunate. but you've got to work together, and if you're not providing a draft for them, they're gonna stop working. This break was really earnest, I feel, with kind of the exception of Saint Amant. There we get a pole. He made it up to us, but was largely just in the draft. But I think Marius was working. Simone Towitz was definitely working. I probably could have worked a little bit harder. It was very rough on me, but we eventually get reeled in. But we put damage in others' legs, and that's the point. So unsuccessful break, but good tactic, good teamwork, and I'm reasonably happy with my performance there. I think there was a chance if I really dug deep, we could have extended that into a real and sustained break that I was prepared for. Simple, everybody's hurting here, just recover. Doing 4.2, 4.4 watts per kilo off the front shouldn't lead to a break, but I think everybody was tired, and I made sure I was represented sort of in the front, ready to reload and go again, because this is a point of separation pretty much every time. And it was good that I stayed in the front. We're starting to see folks drop off. Sammy C, Ribagnac and Kiefer are all dropping off. We're starting to drop folks, shaking the tree as I call it, and folks are falling out, which is what you want. Less competition at the line at the end. In these spots where you have a gap, you want to extend the gap. And I'm going to take over here over pace. Johnson was doing a great job keeping the pace up high. We really want to discourage Sammy and Ribagnac from getting back on. And so I'm watching their watts per kilo and making sure that I'm exceeding it by a little bit. And that's why I decided to take over the pace here. I do not want them back on because it's more competition at the end. Once again, taking the pace because I want to keep it difficult. I want to sort of break the will of Sammy, which looks like they're starting to break down, which is exactly what I'm trying to accomplish. Get them out of the pack and out of the race. We've expanded the gap, but I'm seeing life, and Sammy is a strong rider. I'm seeing 4 watts per kilo, I'm seeing turns, and so I really want to discourage that. So I'm going to note the pace of the peloton, and if it's not fast enough, I'll take a decision to increase the pace myself. But if it's pretty quick, then I'm going to let the peloton take over and I'm going to rest sort of selfishly. It's one of the things I've done is I've added to my Zwift panel, the bottom left there, kilometers per hour, so that I think I need to make a bigger panel so I can see more folks, because I want to see how fast the chase group is going so I can gauge whether I need to step on it or not. But you'll see here, the peloton decides on their own to increase the pace, which is great. I want as much pace as possible. I really want to discourage chasers, and we see somebody dropped from the race, and now Sammy's by themselves, which is perfect.
I don't need to come over the top here. I don't believe this is a good place to brake, but I need to be represented in the front just in case somebody really sends it, and I'm just going to keep up with the pace as best as I can. As we're nearing the final 10 miles, 16 kilometers or whatnot, I need to start making a plan for how I'm going to win this, what a win looks like. Is it going to be a breakout, a breakaway, or am I going to go to the line, or some bit of the two? But I know that I don't want to start the break here, and right here Simone Twitz goes again. I'm pretty gassed at this point, and I needed to see the peloton react, but then I decide to bridge up here. I'm cutting corners really for myself. If I'm in the wind, I'm going to cut corners. I really want to encourage others to help chase him down and keep his gap manageable. And I'm going to make a choice here, and you'll see. I'm actually going to do this with the hope of establishing a break with Simone Twitz, and it seems he's amenable to it because he's not trying to blow me out of the water. He's actually kind of waiting for me, and then we get Marius. So here we've got to dig deep, and my goal here was to try to establish another break. That hill is going to be the best opportunity to make a break, so I really needed to push it, and I was hoping somebody would take over and take turns. Not really super consistent. Bailey's there with us, doing a decent job. Our speed isn't great. The peloton is catching up. We are hurting them, which is great. I feel like I do recover better than most, so putting fatigue in the legs is fine. I don't mind being caught. We did shake the tree, and we shook out Real Strong Rider and Francis there. And then Barham had been with us the entire time, and so we shook out two riders, and they should be going for out of contention. Every expenditure of energy should have a purpose, and right here it's the same tactic. I want to make sure that we really make Barham think that he's never going to get back on. And hopefully the peloton supports that, but every expenditure of energy should have some purpose, some statement you can say, I decided to take a dig here because. And if you don't have an answer to that, then you probably could have saved the watts. Now we're reaching endgame. I want the peloton to keep the pace high. I want to balance rest with Barham and Francis. They're not working together. Now they came together, but they weren't for a while, and now they're together and in the low ones. It seems kind of fragmented, so I'm happy taking a breather here and seeing if I can squeeze in some recovery. I'm going to keep an eye on P. Francis and G. Barham as I go throughout this race, but I'm really hoping that the peloton keeps the pace high, and you see Johnson and Saint-Amant, they're doing a great job in doing so. And I'm going to prepare myself for the sprint. This seems like it's going to be a very sharp breakaway with a couple miles, which I'm prepared for, or a line sprint. I'm guessing line sprint at this point because it's
sprint at the line, because I think people are pretty tired. Not only tired, but somewhat discouraged in that the brakes are not sticking, which says that the group is strong enough to reel them back, so it might not be the best idea to try to establish one this late and mess up your sprint. I think it was about here I was talking about my sprint. I've really done a bad job with the mental side of it. I am just ending my sprint 5 seconds sooner than I have the potential for, and it's all mental. I've put on a lot of fitness in the last few months, really expanded the hours I've been on the bike, and really getting rewarded for that, but my sprint has kind of been harmed a little bit. I've been losing weight as well, which is really hard to expand power and lose weight. And one of the things that's kind of been harmed is my sprint, but I think it's largely on the mental side. So I'm preparing myself. That's my goal. I want to hold my sprint for longer than I think possible. And here we go after that last dig. It's all going to be positioning for the sprint, when to use the power up, staying with the front until about 300-400 meters. It's downhill going into flat, and we're just going to absolutely send it. But all of this is sprint prep, staying out of the wind, staying in the draft, monitoring for who's going to go, who's not. Horrible premature celebration there by me. Bad form, stupid, all that, but we get the win. I'm overall pretty happy with how I raced, and I did stick the sprint there, so happy with that as well. Go out there and challenge yourself and ride it better. Thank you for watching.